Funding for the Railways of Crotoonia has been brought to you by Patreon. For as low as $1 a month, you can help get new videos out faster by helping bring in money to get more time and help with producing these faster. You'll also get access to all kinds of other cool things, or receive cool things depending on how high you go, including the models we use for the series, ooh. To learn more, visit patreon.com/the MilanToon channel to learn more and help contribute to our silly little train cartoons. And thanks to all our patrons for making this episode possible.
Stew is a very officious engine. Being the dockmaster's diesel of Grofflen Harbour, he always works to make sure the docks are tick-tock and on the clock. Unfortunately, this attitude does have a tendency to cause some, problems. One night, as the Seaside locomotives were cooling their fireboxes and engines, Skipper Stew was rolling into the roundhouse. The engines were surprised. "What are you doing here tonight, Skip?" asked Oliver. "Passenger detail. The Seaside Rail Co. scheduled a test run for our new express passenger service for tomorrow, but the new engine she bought hasn't arrived yet, so I, of all engines, am to take the train tomorrow." "That sounds lovely," said Emma. "Not when you're the dockmaster's diesel. I feel like I should stay here and keep things running." "But we all help to do that," said Jones the Steam, "even whilst we have engines out of action. Like how I'm taking care of the containers while Russ is on holiday," said Gripper the Crane. "Suppose you've got a point," said Skipper Stew. "In that case, I'll keep this passenger run on the clock." And with that, he went straight to sleep. Next morning, however, showed that not everything would be on the clock. Skipper Stew, keeping in proper Navy fashion, woke himself up well before dawn. Unfortunately, the ship was still far out at sea by the time he got there. Trains came in and out of the terminal, and buses put-putted in and out for a good hour while he was waiting. At last, the big cruise ship carrying his passengers finally arrived and quickly boarded his coaches. Stew's train would only stop at the harbour stations, so the coaches were special for the long trip. There was a break coach, a luggage van, a sleeper, a diner, and a lounge, all coupled together for the long journey. At last, everyone was on board, and Skipper Stew was ready to go. "Tick-tock, we're on the clock, off we go, lads," he called out, but the coaches weren't ready. "The conductor's not ready! The conductor's not ready!" they called out, but it was no use. Skipper Stew was moving. Had he not been flagged down, he would have left the luggage van and the break coach behind. Skipper Stew felt very embarrassed. All the way to their first stop in Grofflen, it seemed like nothing went right. Because they were late, they were switched off on a loop siding to let Yemon hurry past with some freight cars. Then, he ran into trouble with Donald at the salt mines. And to make things worse, the inclines proved very troublesome for Skipper Stew, causing the coaches to rock about and give the passengers an unpleasant experience. Passengers trying to sleep were given an unwanted massage. Hotcakes and bagels flew across the diner, and passengers trying to take pictures were given blurry results. At last, they made it to their first stop. The grumbling passengers boarding the main line connections and ferry boats at the dock got off, and some new passengers got in. Harry and Hamish, the express freight diesels, were surprised to see their boss worn out and stressed. "Oh, how do engines manage this? I've run this train to time, and I've run into nothing but trouble." "Well, we're not experts on the matter," said Harry. "But passenger trains aren't like freight," said Hamish. "They're right, you know," said a voice. It was Olwen, who'd been hauling Isabel and Dulcie while Oliver was working at the salt mines.
Passengers are not meant to be treated like soldiers, and coaches aren't meant to be treated like cars. You need to be gentle, smooth, and above all, relaxed.
So, don't order them on board?
Correct.
And don't rock them about?
Correct. Just be relaxed and keep steady.
Just then, the conductor blew his whistle. All aboard! He called out as Skipper Stu tooted to say, all clear. And now, knowing that the passengers and luggage were safely aboard, he started off. The ride up to Crotoonia Bay was much smoother. Skipper Stu didn't run into any loop sidings or jerk about on inclines. He just hauled his way up quickly but steadily. The passengers could sleep comfortably in the sleeper. The diners could enjoy their lunches of hot hamburgers, sandwiches, wraps, and soft drinks. And sightseers could take in the beauty of the Crotoonian coast. And when they arrived at the harbour, Skipper Stu waited patiently for the passengers to reboard his coaches. Then, they all travelled down the same route home, stopping at each stop without fail. Finally, he made his last stop late into the night. His passengers boarded the final cruise ship bound for the mainland, and the express coaches were shunted away to the yards. Well done, said Dockmaster Eric. I heard you improved a great deal after what happened this morning, and the express has been a great success. Therefore, I am proud to say, thank you, good Eric, interrupted Stu. But I do have my dockmaster's duties to fill. Oh, I wasn't going to have you take over. Then, what were you going to say? But I must stop here, I'm afraid, or I'm going to spoil the next story.